Welcome to Oakland Is. I'm your host, Fred Jackson, and today I have two outstanding guests with you that we're going to have an enjoyable day and learning so much about these legendary figures. And I have Mr. Musical Giant Legend, Jimmy McCracklin, and his gracious baby daughter, I believe, and her name is Sue. And I welcome to Oakland Is. It's so nice to have both of you here.
Thank you. Thank you.
And as you've probably seen by our theme, that the title, of course, today is There's No Generation Gap Here. Now, why would I say it? Fred, why would you say there's no generation gap here? Of course, we know when you turn on the TV, whether it's Channel 4, 7, 6, CNN, KNBC, or so forth, we talk about the generation gap and the split, or Shabbat, best we say that the gap between the elderly and the young. And so this show today will dispel the notion that there's a generation gap with everybody, because the two guests I have today are Jimmy McCracklin, who is 89 years old, and I'm just humbled to have him today, and I'm just awed by his state of health and the fact that he's still at the grinding stone. And of course, his daughter Sue, so good to have you here, and the fact that you are young and you're looking out for the elderly, yes, and that they can see it. Normally people would think, so, well, a famous person like Jimmy McCracklin, his daughter's probably saying, well, everybody need to do something for us, you know what I mean? We don't, let him, he's been there and he, so we supposed to be, we royal, you know what I mean? But here you are setting the example of what especially our community should acknowledge and should see by a living example. So, first of all, let me ask you, Jimmy, first of all, I want to know where you was born. Somebody may think you was born in England, or somebody may think you was born in New York or San Francisco or Los Angeles, but where in fact were you actually born?
Well, Fred, I was born in Arkansas.
All right.
Helena, Arkansas, and I'm proud of it.
Right on.
Right on. I've learned in this life that it's not where you're from, it's what you are after being from there.
Right on.
So I don't try to be what I'm not. I just want to be what I am. Thank God I'm still around.
Well, I'm glad you're still around because, Jimmy, I remember you when I was quite young. And I remember hearing you play, at the Savoy in North Richmond where I lived. And we used to come by, we could hear that music going. But, I'm from the church world, and so we, so we didn't deal with the blues world except from a distance. Sometimes we would hear and we would stop and listen to that beat in there. We know who was in there. We know it was Jimmy McCracklin. And
well, just speaking of the blues, the blues is for the young and the old. A lot of people think that because people are young, they have no responsibility. Some of them have a responsibility. Right. And when they hear the blues fit their life. Right. Because
sure, you're right.
In order to love the blues or like the blues, it's got to be a true part of life there somewhere.
Right. And it is a part of it. So even though I was in the church choir and in a quartet, but still, when I heard the blues, whatever Muddy Water.
Well, when I started, I was quite young too, but I'm still at it. And I haven't give up.
Right.
I want to thank that good boy upstairs
for
letting me be here.
Now, do y'all hear that? He said the good boy upstairs. He mean the man upstairs. Somebody said the man up yonder. But it shows in our culture many times, and oftentimes me as a community worker and as one that studied black history, it bothers me. It concerns me that people pin demons on our music. They call it the devil's music. When you heard the blues, you would think about a devil with horns and tails and so forth. But it was a part of our culture. It's the way we expressed ourselves.
Well, the one thing I love about the blues is it's a true part of life somewhere and some part.
Right.
And when I started, the people was right along with me, loved them blues there.
Right.
And some of them still around. They still want
Right.
them same blues.
Right.
They haven't changed.
Right.
And a lot of youngsters is coming up today.
Right.
They comes by and they see me and they get to know me and want my records. They want to try to re-record them.
Right.
Of course, they like the lyrics. They like the words. And I try to stay with the trend as much as I can.
Right. Right.
Because
You
the
know,
trend is popping fingers
Right on.
now. And if you listen to my new songs and my records, you find some finger popping in there.
some finger popping, and I heard that.
Yeah, I'm not a one-way artist. You know,
Right
I like for the youngsters as well as the older people to let me.
Right.
You know,
Absolutely.
so I try to stay with it.
Yes, it's fact. My first love back in Mississippi broke my heart, and I used to cry. I used to go in the corn crib and cry. So I had the blues then, even at 10 years old. You know what I mean? I was hurting.
Well, you
So all
keep
I had
telling, not cutting you off, but you keep telling me that you like the blues, so you still love the blues, huh?
You're right, right. So it still rings the chord. And so, because I've had the blues, you know what I mean? So I had the blues. I'd cried some tears.
Oh, you had the
Some
blues?
Oh, yeah, I've cried some bitter tears. You know? My purple love, my first love. And you know, Sue,
Yes, sir.
just turning my attention, segue here. How did it feel to have a famous father and the life that you traveled through with him? What could you say to the young at heart about the old folks or the elders and how to give to the elders and what elders need? How can we nourish the elders who have nourished us and so forth?
Well, what I would say to the young people is to never throw away your elders. Never get rid of your elders, because that's wisdom. That's where your wisdom comes from. That's where you learn things. And without the elders, you'll never know anything, you know. And I'm very grateful. I'm blessed to have him as a father. I've learned a lot. I've been places I probably never would have gotten to in my lifetime
Right.
alone, you know. So it's a pleasure. It's great.
Right, and you know, also it's a pleasure for me to hear that that you were one of the backup singers
Yes.
for the group, and
Yes,
that
I am.
when we appear out in North Richmond, that you'll be part of it, and so that's great to hear. So we see families, we have the Staple family and so forth, and Pop Staple, Legion Mabel, Staple and so forth, and to see how your father, Jimmy McCracklin, has inspired you and has made it possible for you to go places where you obviously never would have gone. And
That's
that is
right.
so profound coming from you, and especially in this day and time.
Well, you have to give honor where honor is due.
Yes.
I'm just the offspring, but he's the man that started it all for
Started
me.
it all.
So it's all about him, as far as I'm concerned.
Right on. I hear you that. Now, and I want to turn our attention to the reason for this show is we have Jimmy McCracklin Day, which is going to happen in North Richmond, July the 24th, at Shield Reeves Park on Cherry and Chesley, and it will be acknowledging a legend. In fact, the title of the day is Jimmy McCracklin and Legend, because that will be the Combs family, and YBS, which is the extension of the Heath family and the Combs family. That will be the other two legends. So it's Jimmy McCracklin and Legend. And this day will be the first day, and I want the people out there in TV land to understand that this is just one day, but every year we'll be acknowledging Jimmy and his great work that he did for not only North Richmond but for other communities throughout the country.
That's
and to every year, so we let young people know who are coming along who shoulders they are standing on. That right in our own North Richmond, we have legends who have given music, so much. And so I want to remember that day, July the 24th, at Shield Reeves Park, where you
Well,
would see?
I would like to say, Fred,
Go
you
ahead.
know, Sue, she's been with me all my life.
Mm-hmm.
Me and my wife passed away a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And she's still with me. But Sue been trying to sing and coming up when ever since she's 5 or 6 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So she got it now.
Right.
With my pushing and all that kind of stuff, she got it, and she followed me all over the world.
Great.
Bless her. When she was first started coming up, she used to pop her fingers at 5 and 6 years old. So she sings the blues too. She got a group that she put together called, what's that,
Sweet Nectar.
Sweet Nectar.
Wow.
And they sang the blues. They're all young kids. In a way, they're not babies, but they're young, you know.
Right.
And I just love to hear them. They works behind me on every show,
Right.
you know.
Right.
I took them all over the world, Japan, China,
Right.
wherever I go, Australia, wherever I go, they're with me.
Well, great.
And they're going to be on your show too.
Right on. Yeah, they will be there. And
I'm sure. Well, you
and
never heard
so-
them, have you?
I've never heard them.
Well, you
I've
will
been
hear
since
'em.
here. Right. And that day in North Richmond, July the 24th, will be enshrined as the Jimmy McCracklin Day Musical Festival, and this will continually every year.
Well, you know, I've been in Richmond for a long time, and what's happening in Richmond is I used to play a lot of blues clubs in Richmond.
Mm-hmm.
So I do a lot of writing. I'm a songwriter as well. You know,
Right.
I wrote some great songs that was lucky
Right.
enough.
Well, I tell you what, on the day, on July 24th, people gonna hear anew your great songwriting and the new Jimmy McCracklin. That's
No,
why
they're gonna hear Jimmy
they
McCracklin.
gonna hear
Period.
it.
I don't try to be what I'm not. you
Right
know.
on, right on.
You
So,
know,
so we're looking forward, and we're looking forward, and I want to thank both of you for being on this show today. I know it was kind of rushed, and I thank you for working with me. Thank you, Sue.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jimmy McCracklin, and thank you out there in TV land. Thank you for watching the first part of our show with Jimmy and Sue McCracklin. Stay tuned for our second part with the great playwright James Jackson. So stay tuned. Welcome back to Oakland Is. And my new guest today is James Jackson. And James Jackson, I met him by phone, let's put it like that, probably around a year ago. And he knows Johnny Evans, who's a great singer from the city of Oakland. And Johnny and I are great friends. And they came up with this idea of a screenplay for a film, The Church. And they asked me to collaborate with them. And so that led to me talking to James. James, welcome to the show. I'm glad to have you.
Glad to be here.
And you know, James, it's good to see you face to face. Matter of fact, I didn't even know who you were when I came in, because we've been talking by phone,
Yeah.
and we always talk about John Evans, and so I just never did. I didn't know your face, but it's good to be with you. It's good. It's just ironic that that my previous show with Jimmy McCracklin, great entertainer, and to actually have you here, a great writer, and expecting to sow the seeds of artistic wonder. So it's good to be talking to you. So tell me a little about yourself. You're raised in Barstow,
Barstow, California.
Wow. So how do you get interested in the arts?
I attended Los Angeles City College many years ago. And guys like Greg Morris and others went straight into the movie industry, but I was obsessed with boxing and other sports. And I didn't get this bug again until I came up here. Frankly, I was inspired to write The Church because, well, for the last 44 years, I've worked with unfortunate people who had to do time. at Santa Rita. I was there 10 years, 22 and a half at juvenile in San Francisco. And I worked the streets of LA as a gang worker. And I often wondered why and what causes people to get into the fixes that they get into. Then I noticed as I drive by through the city of Oakland, there are many empty churches. And my own study, which I'm obsessed with trying to understand human nature. And I came to the conclusion that human souls are starved. Spiritual food, they don't get it. We fill our bodies full of food, but the spiritual body of the average person is starved. Their faith is so narrow, so small. And the church, which is God's earthly building, where 2 or 3 souls can meet, and then the church becomes a living faith.
Right.
And after that's done, after souls meet, they kind of stir up God's spirit, which is in every church, not just Baptist churches, Catholic churches, Muslim temples, the Jewish synagogues.
Right.
Every church has God's spirit inside.
Yes.
And
yes.
all a person has to do is enter through those doors.
Right. You know, James, it's apparent that you recognize the fact that one of the most strongest institutions in the black community is the church, which from historical aspect, it has been, and it still is, has power, not as much as it used to influence, that is, but a substantial and influence within our community. And so you're taking the church and what you want to build on through this film. It reminds me of Dr. Martin Luther King. As you know, when the boycott or when the movement in the South first started towards civil rights, you could say the churches, especially in the western state, northern state, it was kind of standoffish. But it wasn't until God got invoked or the church got invoked into the movement that it caught fire, because that institution merged with the civil rights, or said merged with being an advocate. And that church was right in there, and that's what galvanized the masses that brought about civil rights, or that changed this country for the better forever. And I see with just the title of the soon-to-be film is really, it says it loud and clear that we believe that the church is significant, that the church is a vanguard within our midst.
I agree totally. One of the problems that I see is that human beings, human souls, don't understand the value and the power of the church. It's not promoted like the Bible and other aspects of religion. But the church itself is where the food for starved souls is. And I dare anyone to walk through church doors several more times, and the healing process will start. Now, as I told you, I've worked with thousands of troubled souls. And I got to know them personally. Personally. Good people. Who that said? There's some bad in the best of us and some good in the worst of us. Well, I saw the good in many, many people. And now I understand that most people don't understand their own spiritual body. And even preachers don't preach the beauty, the power of churches. They talk about every other subject. I've seen it.
Well, you know, I think, you know, the arts, as we often in the community, being an advocate in the city of Richmond, being work for Neighborhood House in North Richmond, and we are reaching out to the faith-based community, getting them involved in a lot of the grants that we'll see, like healthy eating, active living, and in fact, I've been working with the ministers to get them to see healthy eating, active living as a part of faith. In other words, insofar as we take care of the spiritual man, and there's the human person, there's the human, you know,
Right.
and there's the spiritual.
Right.
Or we can say the inside man and the outside man. And both of these need to be fed.
Right.
Because, you know, we know that the Bible says if someone comes to you hungry, don't pray for him, that you feed him, and then pray for him. So
I agree.
that they are, you know, that both are significant. But I just want to say what has really struck me by meeting you. We both are Jacksons, and I'm from Mississippi, you from Louisiana.
Right.
We're both writers, and somehow fate would have you and I and Johnny to be collaboratively talking about the church and how we can do a film where the church is at work within the community, not just our community, but all communities and at large. So that's really
Coincidence.
bro. That's really, you know, but it's a good coincidence, by the way.
I think it's going to work. I been reaching out everywhere I can for support and so forth. I was a boxing coach at Job Corps many years ago, and my good friend George Foreman promised me he would do a cameo role. It's a little hard to reach him now,
Yeah.
but that would really give the film that name
Yeah.
that we want. But I want to say this. I think that the church itself, this movie, is going to have a character called Cinnamon. And Cinnamon is so tough, so rough. He has poisoned the whole neighborhood, and they hate him. We have so many youngsters and even olders today who are poisoning, terrorizing our neighborhoods. They think it's okay to take the law in their own hand and shoot somebody's child. And these things disturb me greatly. And I think if I can, I'm hoping this movie will actually stimulate atheists, agnostics, churchgoers, gangsters, all of them. All those in crime, if they come and see Cinnamon, they will see themselves. And hopefully they will start getting a little awareness of who they are. I call them neighborhood monsters and human animals, because they don't have the right to take somebody's child's life.
Right.
So on that note, I'd like to say, you know, that I think the church itself it needs to put out the value of churches everywhere. These churches in neighborhoods, on corners, should be filled up every Sunday.
Absolutely.
But nobody goes to them. Very few people go to them.
Right. Well, I know. I think you're on the right track. I mean, as you alluded to, George, was it George Foreman? Yeah, George Foreman. You trained him.
I taught him a lot of
You
things.
taught
I
him
didn't
a lot of
actually
things.
train him, but
Well,
I
I'll
taught
tell
him
you
a lot.
what, you don't have to worry about me. Whatever you want me, you got it. I'm not gonna argue with you. 'Cause
I'm a
you
peaceful
taught
man.
him to hit like that.
I'm a
I don't
peaceful
want you
man.
to hit me.
But I
So-
taught George that one. He lifted
Yeah.
Frazier up. I taught
But
him that.
anyway, what I want to point out, there was a movie here maybe about 20 years ago. Don't you try to outbox God.
Oh,
Don't you
your
try
arms
to
are too
box
short.
with God. Your arms too short.
short.
Yeah, and I think that was what her name, the great singer, Patti LaBelle.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw that, and
Right.
so what you're saying with this this movie Church, and what you actually saying that we're going to show you who really know how to box. And
Right,
see,
right.
Yeah, so in this church,
Right.
so we're going to show you who really know how to box, who can
Right.
throw the hook, who can jab, and who can throw an uppercut.
That's right.
And that's right. If you don't, you know, because you talking about somebody who can throw a hurricane at you,
Yeah.
you know, throw an earthquake
Earthquake.
at you. You know, I mean, really, I'm telling you.
Oil come about the
Yeah,
earth.
Yeah, right on. So you really, I think I thought you on the curve. You moving with the curve.
Well,
You
your
know, with this
friend
movie.
and my friend, Johnny Evans and his chosen voices, who are going to be the cast, primary cast. Johnny's singing and music, and he is one of the nation's great gospel singers. He doesn't have to take a back seat to nobody. Well, his music is going to be worth the price itself. We're going to have some beautiful music giving this film tone and color.
Right on.
That's your friend and mine, Johnny Evans.
Johnny, well,
and
you
his
know,
Chosen Voices.
well, James Jackson, I really want to thank you for, you know, for being on the show, and I'm flabbergasted to have talked to you. We've talked on the phone, and this is going to be a great project, and I'm glad to be a part of it, because the church, we're going to put some wheels on the church. You know, they kick him out the church and let the church roll on.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to say, we know somebody done got kicked out the church, but yet we're going to not only tell it to roll on, we're going to help it roll on through the arts. And that's where you and I come in, and other great writers, as we work to make this happen right on. So
I'd just like to say Michael Lange, who really referred me to you, is one of the big catalysts behind this.
Right.
And with your help,
Right on.
we're going to make it clear.
Well, I know Michael, and I know Michael is watching, and we're going to move on, because we're going to move and shake.
Okay.
That's right.
I'm looking
I'll tell you
forward.
that. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We'll see you next time. Keep your head up and walk the walk instead of just talking the talk.
Okay.
Thank you.